begin, Byron.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your participation and attendance in today's uh, workshop. As Jackie said, I'm going to be speaking to, first of all, my name is Byron Whitaker. I am the Deputy Procurement Officer with the City of Chicago Department of Procurement Service. I oversee architecture and engineering services as well as construction requirements. I want to touch on programs that are specific to the City of Chicago and city-funded construction requirements. As on this page, it says program and bid incentives. I'll be going over that. The first program that I want to make you aware of is the Small Business Initiative or the SBI Construction Program. And then I'll talk a little bit about the Mid-Sized Business Initiative or the MBI Construction Program. And then I'll touch a base on the EEO or Equal Opportunity Employment as it relates to construction contracts, as well as the apprentice utilization bid preference when you bid on a city construction contract. Now, if you go to the next slide, it'll say program goals. The goal of these programs that that the city has instituted is designed to encourage small businesses to participate in city-funded construction projects under $3 million in total cost. That's for the SBI program. And there's two SBI programs, SBI 1 and 2. The key points of those programs is that the small, local, six-county businesses are exclusive business. So bidders that are in the six-county region and they're small and local are the only bidders that can bid on these SBI 1 and 2 programs. As I say, there's two tiers, 1 and 2. 1 is for a project that's estimated to cost less than $3 million. And to be eligible to bid on those, your firm must meet the SBA, Small Business Administration Size Standard. And then there's the SBI 2, and the estimate of those projects are projects that are less than $2 million. And to be eligible to bid on those projects, you must be must meet one half the size standard of the SBA. If you want to go further into the specific of these programs, feel free to consult Municipal Code 2-92-710. Mid-sized business program for construction. This program is designed to increase small and mid-sized business participation in city-funded construction projects between $3 and $10 million in cost. Okay, so you got the SBI 2 that's up to $2 million, the SBI 1 that's up to $3 million, and now you have the MBI that's $3 million to $10 million. The key point to the MBI is once again small and mid-sized businesses located in the six county region. Once again, those are the only bidders that can bid on these types of projects. And again, the estimated dollar cost of these projects are between $3 and $10 million. And the eligibility for your firm to meet the MBI requirement is that your firm must meet one and one half times the size standard for the SBA. And again, the reference of the program is at the bottom in the Municipal Code 292-800. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about bid incentives as it relates to construction contracts, particularly as it relates to equal employment opportunities or EEO bid incentives. And as I said, the program goal, the bid incentive is available on construction projects valued at $100,000 or more, which is designed to increase the utilization of minority and women journey workers, apprentices, and labor. So there's three categories that the city is trying to increase: journey workers, laborers, and apprentices in for minority and women. The key point is any bidder proposing to utilize minority and women-owned journey workers, apprentices, and laborers on a contract for construction may apply for each percentages. The bidder must show its commitment to utilize minority and female workers in any of these three categories by completing the canvassing formula in the bid. Now, the canvassing formula, and then there's a reference of the municipal code 292-390. Now, the canvassing formula is how the city determines who the low bidder is. And by that, I mean that the bidder may propose utilizing women and minorities in those various categories. And there's a calculation that kind of gives you a discount off of your total bid, and that's how we determine that you are the low bidder. But you will still get a contract in the amount of what you bid. The canvassing formula is just for the purpose of determining the low bidder. Program goals. Design is incentive city prime contract to utilize for apprentice for construction projects. So what is an apprentice? Apprentice means any person who is sponsored into an apprenticeship training program by a contractor that's authorized by a union to sponsor apprentice, and two, enrolled in or has graduated from a construction technology training program administered by the city of Chicago, or is a graduate of a high school operated by the Chicago Public Schools. Once again, these incentives are only for contracts that are $100,000 or more, which is basically most of our contracts anyway. And the incentive is for future contracts. There's tiered incentives. The 5 to 10% work by an apprentice results in 1.5% bid incentives, and 11 to 15% project area subcontractors will result in a 1 bid incentive. So in other words, you commit to that and you meet those goals on a future bid, you can take 1.5% bid incentive for the apprentice. You can take 1% bid incentive for the project area subcontract. And again, the reference code, city municipal code, for you to learn about this further if you want, is 292-335. And that concludes my portion of the presentation. And hopefully now you've gotten a little more clear understanding of the city special programs as it relates to city funded construction projects. And now I want to turn it over to Mike Jugg, who is one of the job consultants for the city of Chicago to help implement the city job program for all our user departments who utilize job. Mike?
Byron, thank you very much. As he alluded to, I am the account manager of the job order contracting program on behalf of the city of Chicago. So again, thank you everyone for being here today. I'm very excited to talk about job order contracting.
Mike, before you started, can you share your screen again? Because we're not seeing it.
Oops, sorry about that. Let me.
Probably did it before I gave you control. There you go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jackie. All right, so this is pretty much the introduction 101 to job order contracting. Obviously, we can get a lot more in deeper detail. If you have any questions or concerns, obviously, please feel free to reach out to Jackie. I'll provide my contact information at the very end, and then we can go from there. I'm always happy to answer any questions or phone calls about job order contracting, trying to get contractors involved with the city. So pretty much the agenda that we have today is pretty much an overview of what job order contracting is, what the process looks like, and then what are some of the benefits to prime contractors who have contracts in the job order contracting program with the city, and what benefits are to subcontractors. You might fit in one of those two labels. How to bid on a contract as a prime contractor. You know, if you're looking at a subcontracting opportunity, you've worked with the prime in the past, and you want to actually bid on that job program yourself, we're going to take you through a couple steps of what that looks like. Not really going in depth and detail like pre-bid meetings would be, but pretty much just grazing over the top of what that looks like and talking about those adjustment factors that go with that. And then finally wrapping up with a couple of review and key points and an open discussion if there is one towards the end. So brief overview of JOC throughout the states here. In the mid 1980s, it was supported by the federal government. That's when they started using the job order contracting program. We were established here in the city in the 90s, and we're still here today. There are over 2,000 JOC contracts nationwide that are used, with just about $2 billion of construction ordered annually through the JOC program. A couple of the awards that JOC has received in the past: in 2005, it received the NIGP Award for the best of the best, awarded to the city of Miami. And in 2015, recently looking at home, the Cook County program received the NACO Award for their use of the JOC program. So it's grown exponentially. The city uses it yearly, and it's an important procurement method that Chicago uses. So what is JOC, right? We have this definition here that it's a firm fixed price that's competitively bid using an indefinite quantity delivery method designed to produce a large number of multi-traded repair and rehab projects, as well as minor new construction. So obviously that's a full mouthful, right? It's kind of hard to digest. So we like to break that down into three categories. The first category would be the firm fixed price. So the firm fixed price aspect of it comes from the construction task catalog. And I'll get into what the CTC is and what the abbreviation is. The CTC in a little bit, but ultimately the JOC contract is firm and fixed because the CTC has pre-priced work tasks included in that book. Meaning, as a contractor, if you are in the JOC program, you're using preset pricing already. And we're going to get into how you adjust with that by segueing into the competitive bid. All bidders of the JOC program must submit a set of adjustment factors based on those fixed prices in the CTC. Meaning, if you're looking at a cost of something in the book and you think you can do the job for less, you would submit a factor that has that adjustment on there, or vice versa. If you think that doesn't pay enough, you would submit a factor multiplying on top of that price in the book. And I'll show you a couple demonstrations in a little bit of how that looks. And then finally, the indefinite quantity part of the definition. There are not any projects identified at the time of bid. However, the contract is a fixed term umbrella contract, meaning you can get either one job, 2 jobs, 10 jobs at the same time because it's a work order task basis, meaning you can get assigned several projects at the same time up to that maximum potential dollar value. So instead of a project going out on the street for, let's just say $5 million, the JOC contract would go on the street for $5 million. And the department agency that Chicago is using, whether it's water management or transportation, they would assign you the projects that they need to be accomplished up to that maximum dollar value of $5 million. So that's kind of what it is broken out into a 3-step nutshell process. I kind of hinted on it, but a couple of the other delivery methods that we have: in-house trades that the city of Chicago uses, traditional bids, term agreements, and JOC is just another one of those delivery methods. JOC is not meant to replace any of the other delivery methods. It's just another tool that Chicago uses to accomplish the work. So once a contractor, once a contractor is awarded a contract with the city of Chicago under the job order contracting umbrella, this would be pretty much, in simple terms, the 5-step process involved in the JOC program. So the department would take the contractor on a joint scope meeting where they would request a proposal afterwards, right? So here's the scope of work. I need this proposal by next Friday. You would build the proposal as the contractor who owns the contract in the eGordian system, which houses the CTC, and send it to the owner for their review. After you go back and forth between some kind of scope or things that need to be done, you both would agree on that price proposal, and the department would issue you a job order. The process for that is expedited, right? So usually a traditional bid would probably take, however long the traditional bids take in the past. I've seen 9 months to over a year. It really depends on the project. But in job order contracting, the job gets procured at a goal timetable of 45 days to 60. And you'll see that a little bit in here too. And the reason for that is because it is performance based, right? So job order contracting really depends on the performance of the contractor. They are expecting job contractors to provide pricing and be ready for construction at least a couple months after the project has been walked, as opposed to a traditional bid, which would take roughly a year, give or take, depending on the scope of that project. But the thing is, once a minimum value is reached, future work assigned to you is dependent on that performance, right? So these are some of the things that they look out for when they're assigning work to you. They want to see the responsiveness, right? Performance is rated from the development phase of that 1 or 2 month process through construction. They really look at the project scope development, right? So they look to you as the contractor to say, this is what we need to get done if you want to repair X, Y, and Z. And then they look at the construction phase. They look at if your startup is timely, if you have effective management of the crew loads or subcontractor schedules, pretty much the general contracting aspect of it. And you want to have that success in both the project development and construction, because that just furthers the relationship with the owner that you have a contract with, and it furthers your work down the road. That performance we have seen in the past typically depends on having a good adjustment factor and a quality staff to handle the workload of the department. So as we talk about performance, there are measurable performance standards in the contract that the owner department will look at the general contractor to accomplish, right? And these are the 6 measures and standards in that contract. You need to have quality price proposals that are accurate and timely. They need to be submitted on or before the request for proposal due date. And then obviously timely construction and quality construction. That's what we're in the construction business. That's expected on any contract that you get with the city. And then a little extra is the achievement of M&WBE goals. Byron alluded to earlier, the city is trying to get more work through M&WBE participation. So contracts have to meet those goals, and that's where subcontracting opportunities happen. And then finally, the achievement of your self-performance goals, right? You want to have self-performance goals if you are an M&WBE, or if you're just looking at the contract as in, I want to successfully accomplish this contract within the 3 or 5 years that it was issued. You want to achieve those self-performance goals too. So the benefits to JOC as a prime general contractor, JOC can be very profitable, right? It's a profit that is based on a function of volume. So even as I alluded to earlier, the JOC contract is performance based. Your volume that you get, that's where your profit's going to come from, right? It's not just one job that you're going to have a flat 10% profit, 10% overhead on. There's going to be projects that are steady flow of work. So that volume is where that profit comes in. Another advantage is that you don't have to chase another project, because ultimately they have to get work done. They're going to assign it to you because you already have that contract with the city. It also establishes a long-term relationship, right? They get used to who you are. It's a non-adversarial relationship. You develop that partnership with the city so that they're comfortable using you on further work. And then finally, it's professionally rewarding. There's differing types of scopes of work depending on which department you work with. Even within that department, there's going to be different types of scopes of work that they're going to have you accomplish. And it provides you the input to provide that value to them of the scope development phases, of being able to tell the owner what needs to be done so that that project has longevity and looks good in the long term. Subcontracting opportunities and benefits that come out of job order contracting. One of them is no projects are identified at the time of bid. So the prime can't staff up to self-perform all of that work. So what that means is they're going to have to subcontract that out to you. that's where your volume and profit are tied in. It increases the subcontracting opportunities out there. Also, as I alluded to earlier, there are M&WBE participation goals by the general. So they're going to have to sub some of that work out in order to hit those goals. So all in all, contractors can work on multiple projects at multiple times, and they have procurement goals that they have to, or compliance goals that they have to meet. That's where the subcontracting comes in. So as a subcontractor looking to get in the JOC program, right, if you're not comfortable owning a JOC contract or bidding on a JOC contract, you can always contact the prime and establish a relationship with them. They may ask you for a couple different methods of how they're going to provide a quote, such as a lump sum. They may ask you just for a lump sum quote with material on there, or they might actually ask you to build a proposal out of the CTC that they're bound to. Although they may ask you to do that, you're not bound to those prices, right? You don't have to do the work for them unless you're under contract after pricing's been submitted. So the important part is it depends on where you want to go and how you want to contact these prime contractors that have these contracts. As contracts are advertised though, it might be worthwhile for you. It's just like researching anything else, right? You may want to be able to obtain a copy of the CTC that are in the bid documents, so you know what prime contractors are bidding on and what they're being paid, right? It doesn't cost you anything to at least download the documents from the website and have that and research it and kind of get a familiarity of what that contract looks like. And obviously, as I mentioned before, it is performance-based. So if the prime is constrained on the allocation of resources, they're going to have to sub that contract, those opportunities. That's where that comes in. So this is kind of the two-step approach to a JOC contract. I've talked about both, but part one would be bidding on the actual umbrella JOC contract. So the owner would advertise the JOC, the contractors would submit their bid, and then the owner would award that umbrella JOC contract to the prime. And then part two would be procuring those individual job orders. So it'd be procuring project one, or in this case, project A, B, and C, and those would have to be subcontracted out based on, you know, if a owner has 5 projects at the same time, 10 projects at the same time, subcontracting opportunities are going to be there. But really what we're going to get into is pretty much scraping the surface of bidding as a prime contractor. So typically there's 4 or 5 books that are advertised at the time of bid. Book 1 would be the instructions to the bidders and the execution documents. Book 2 would be the general conditions and the rules of job order contracting. Book 3 would be the fixed pricing, which is in the construction task catalog. Book 4 would be the specifications tied to that construction task catalog. And then in a couple departments, there's a book 5 that have client specifications, pretty much rules of their program and specs of what their needs and requirements are as they go through the contract. What we're going to focus on is book 3, because I've alluded to it a couple times. What is the CTC? What is the construction task catalog? So like I said, it's a combination of a pre-priced construction work tasks across all divisions of construction, starting at general requirements all the way down to exterior work, division 32, 33, 34, etc. It's organized by CSI master format, and it includes prices such as local labor, equipment, and material costs, and is tied all together into a price and a line item in the CTC. But what's unique about the JOC program is that it's customized for the city's tasks and standards, meaning it's not just one standard book across the entire city. It's CDOT transportation is going to look vastly different than the Department of Water Management. So that is kind of the scope of work of the contract, is the construction task catalog. And they're fixed for the entire duration of the contract. So that's what the CTC looks like in this example, where you have the CSI master format, you have the title of what that section is, and then it goes into detail. That cast in place concrete curb and gutter includes concrete forms, rebar, etc. So you want to look at the CTC to see what line items include, right? So you're not double dipping tasks at the time of bid. when you're calculating your adjustment factor and things like that. And then as you continue to look, there's modifiers for an economy of scale, right? If you go to Costco or Sam's Club, typically you pay less for buying more in the long run. Or if you buy, small amounts, you're going to pay more for that economy of scale. That's what construction is, right? So that is varied in the CTC as well. And then finally, you'll see the price for a linear foot of 6x12 cast in place concrete curb. The install price is $7.18. And then all the way to the right, it would be a demo price. If they asked you to demo a concrete curb that size per linear foot, it would cost $3.23. So when you're bidding as a prime, when you're evaluating and looking into all of these details, there's pretty much 4 steps that you want to go by. The first one is determining direct costs, right? You want to determine your direct costs that you've done on previous jobs, similar to the department that you're looking at, and then analyze the CTC and specs to see if they align, right? You want to look for completeness and clarity. You want to look into the direct costs of the CTC and what you've done in the past. A key point here is that the prices in the CTC do not include any overhead and profit or subcontractor overhead and profit. That's where your factor comes in. And we'll get into how to calculate that briefly here in a moment. But you want to look at all these costs to make sure that you're covering everything that you're supposed to at the time of bid. And as Byron alluded to earlier as well, there's a canvassing formula that walks you through steps. I believe it's steps 1 through 21 or 24 that outline every single adjustment factor, every single detail to make sure that you're having your bases covered, while also looking at your costs, because you're the contractor, you're the one submitting the adjustment factor to the city. After that, you want to determine what the overhead costs and profit expectations are, right? You've seen the book, you've seen some line items in the CTC, you've compared it to your project, and you determine, okay, this is what my overhead and profit's going to look like on this average or mean of jobs, and this is what my factor is going to be. What you need to include in those is bonding, insurance, staffing. If it's a large contract, you're going to have to hire some new people, things like that. You want to look out for that as well. And then step 3 would be, after you figure all of that out, what your normal working hour and other than normal working hour factor would be compared in the CTC. So really only the difference is, you can see it in the animation there. The normal working hours is the hours worked, obviously, during the normal working hours. Each department may vary, but it's pretty standard. Other than normal working hours would be overtime outside of those hours. So you have to submit a bid for both. Those cannot exclude any costs, and again, must cover all direct costs, overhead, and profit directly tied to the CTC. And then finally, step 4, you want to specify equal employment opportunity commitments, because there are bid incentives throughout the contract, like Byron alluded to in the first couple slides throughout this presentation. The low bidder is based on the lowest award criteria figure. That is tied from the canvassing formula, so it's important to remember. So this is kind of a really general example of how you would analyze the CTC versus your costs. We like to use this example that, let's just say in the real world, a project that you selected based on your historical records paid you $82,000, okay? Then you look at the CTC and you build that price proposal at a factor of 1, meaning there's no adjustment, right? Because you want to see what those costs are compared to what you got paid out for that project. So after you build your proposal, the price came out to $75,746. So obviously the CTC is paying you less than what you got paid on the job. So how you would do that is you would determine what the adjustment factor is to adjust that 75,000 to that 82,000. So if you were satisfied with that 82,000 and that covered your direct costs, that covered your overhead and profit, you would need an adjustment factor of 82,000 divided by 75,000, which would get you to 1.0868, meaning you would need an 8% markup on the CTC to hit all of your costs on that job. That is pretty much the preferred way to find out your adjustment factor so that you're comfortable submitting a bid. But you want to keep in mind that you just don't want to do one project, right? You want to do several projects. You want to do large projects, small projects, construction durations. You know, you want to take multiple projects into account and kind of look at all your adjustment factors, because you can have one job that might have an adjustment factor of 1.2. You can have one that is 1.02. Those are almost an 18% difference. So you want to keep in mind that you should be evaluating multiple projects at the same time. This is just an example of an Excel sheet that can be used to analyze the pricing. This is how you would build the quote unquote sample proposal based on your actual costs when you're comparing that 75,000 to the 82,000. You can kind of see based on the columns and rows, you can set it up how the book has it and build your proposal that way. And then you can use that template for future jobs that you have to compare and average out, or however you want to come to your factor at. So tips for being a successful bidding job contractor: you want to bid correctly. Obviously, there's a lot of requirements in any city contract, in any contract that you get into in particular. So you want to make sure that you are following the bid instructions and execution documents, particularly in books 1 and 2. You want to anticipate the type of work that the city department has. So like I mentioned earlier, the Department of Transportation is going to differ from water management. They're completely different scopes. So you want to make sure you understand what you're bidding on, and you want to attend the pre-bid meeting and pay attention to specific slides detailing the type of work, right? As we mentioned, there's no specific project demonstrated to you at the time of bid, but there are key words and there are key phrases, and the CTC is the scope of work. That is what you want to pay attention to. And then after that, you want to analyze your prices compared to the CTC prices, run several sample projects, and determine your factors to adjust those costs to the CTC. And then obviously fill out the canvassing formula to get to your award criteria figure, like I mentioned earlier. Obviously, outside of bidding correctly, you want to make sure that you staff correctly. Like I said, you can have several projects at the same time at one time. So you need to make sure that you staff correctly in order to keep churning out that work that they provide to you. All in all, in general, the factors that you submit at the time of bid and the quality of staff that you have affects greatly whether or not a contractor can meet the performance standards illustrated in your contract. Those are pretty much in general the two biggest things that you need to look out for when you bid on or look at a job contract in general. So if the job order contracting program is something you want to get involved with, I've already kind of mentioned, reach out to prime contractors. If you're a prime, start looking at job programs within the city. You really want to analyze what's out there, right? Identify those programs, contracts, whose scope of work relates to your work. As I mentioned, for primes, analyze the prices in the CTC and come up with accurate adjustment factors. For subs, establish that relationship with the primes, because they're going to look for you to complete work because they're getting several jobs at the same time. So as a pretty much wrap on job order contracting, it's an established, expedited procurement system used by several types of public agencies nationwide. Particularly, I'm on here for today for the city of Chicago. We go through the 5-step process in 1 or 2 months, as opposed to other traditional bid timelines. And it has benefits for all parties. It has benefits for the owner because they're getting work done fast, for the prime contractor because the profit is a function of volume, and then subcontractors because they need to subcontract opportunities not only for the volume, but for the compliance. JOC is a performance-based contracting system. So performance is obviously one of the most important parts of this contract. And then for subs, just be aware that when you do reach out to general contractors, that they may ask you for differing times or types of quotes that they want to see in order to, compare what they have. But ultimately, you're not bound to those prices in the CTC. So these are the departments with a JOC program in the city, if you want to write these down. You have the 2 bureaus underneath AIS, aviation, water management, Department of Housing, transportation, and then OEMC, which is rebranding to PSA. These are the Chicagoland area job programs. This is just for informational purposes only because this is a City of Chicago presentation. We just wanted to show you that there are other sister agencies using the JOC program, and there are different procedures for bidding in different sister agencies as well. So you want to obviously look into these at your own time and your own peril. But we wanted to show you that outside of the City of Chicago departments, there are other JOC programs around the area. So to find out more information, current advertisements or opportunities, as Jackie said earlier, you definitely want to sign up for those DPS alerts because that is the initial email push that everyone gets when a JOC is on the street. You also want to check the DPS website. You want to go to that URL, go to the current bids and request for proposal. And then finally, you can check the newspaper. They're still illustrating contracts on that as well. So these are some of the key contacts. Byron Whitaker spoke earlier today, Deputy Procurement Officer with the Department of Procurement Services. Freeman Banks is the Senior Account Manager. He has more areas outside of the city. I am directly tied to the city as the account manager. So please feel free to reach out to me at any time. That's my contact information right there. At this point, I will hand it back off to Jackie to finish off the presentation.
All right, great information. We always like the information that is able to help the vendor community get work with government agencies. So I'm gonna start in reverse while Byron, you unmic yourself because there is one question for you, but that is my fourth question to be asked. The first question I'm going to ask, Byron, are you on now?
Yes, I am.
Oh, wonderful. I think this question is directed towards you. What are the 6 counties, and do we know which wards are within these counties?
Okay, well, I would have to look at if the 6 counties are the same counties for firms to be certified, I'd have to actually get back to you to remember what those are, but because we follow the certification process. In other words, you have to be within those 6 county regions to get certified as an MBE or WBE. So it's those same 6 counties. So if you are certified or you're familiar with the certified program, then those are the same 6 counties. But I'll try to look it up before we get off here so I can tell you.
Okay, and I will say for those folks that might be looking for that, you can go online to www.chicago.gov/DPS, and you can look up certification or the MBWB program, and it should list the counties online there. You can go ahead and mic yourself back into mute, Byron. And I think the next 3 questions are for Michael. So I'll take those. Are general contractors penalized if they do not use any or many MBE, WBE, I guess the programs they're referring to with this job program?
Sure. So there are compliance goals that the general has to meet at the end of the contract. And in general, if those compliance goals are not met, there are penalties that procurement will reach out to the general with. So to answer your question, yes, there are.
And again, for additional information, I would believe you would be able to get that information from that resource guide under compliance. It will tell you if you don't meet obligations or whatever, what could be some of the penalties that you might see in that. The next question is there a certain percentage of which needs to be subcontracted out to subcontractors?
That's a good question. It depends on the department issuing the contract lately, but in general, Commitment levels are 28% MBE, 8% WBE. And again, that might change based on when contractors were, or contracts were awarded previously. But it's looking like the standard right now is 28 MBE, 8% WBE throughout the contract duration.
And wouldn't you say that they would have that in the requirements for the solicitation, so that they need to kind of look in there for that? Would that-
Yes, definitely. Yep, that would be in book 1 or book 2 when you download the solicitation off the e-procurement website.
Okay. So there you have that information that should be able to help you figure that out. Because like he says, things can change from solicitation to solicitation. So I would recommend that you dig deep in the requirements of the solicitation you want, so you make sure that you are meeting the correct requirements. The last question under here is, how are you given access to CTC? And do you need to be registered with the city of Chicago to get that?
Sure. So you do not need to be registered with the city of Chicago. How you would access the CTC would only be at the time of advertisement. So what that is if you do sign up for DPS alerts and you get that email saying that there's a job order contracting contract that's being advertised, or if you find it out in any other way through the newspaper or what have you, you would download the specifications from e-procurement. And in those specifications, there's those 4 or 5 books that I briefly showed on one of the slides. In book 3, that book 3 is the CTC. That's the construction task catalog. So you'll actually have a copy of that as a PDF copy for your reference. It doesn't mean you have to bid on the contract. It's just, it's a good way to actually access it. However, you can't really get it once a contractor is awarded a contract and it's taken off of e-procurement. So in order to access it, I would suggest downloading it from e-procurement at the time of advertisement. That way you can look at the PDF version that way.
Great, great. So I am, Byron, did you have an update that you wanted to give us?
Yes, I do. The 6 county regions are Cook, DuPage, Kane, Lake, McHenry, and Will. Once again, Cook, DuPage, Kane, Lake, McHenry, and Will.
Great. All righty. So what I'm going to say is, if anyone has a question at this time, please put it in the Q&A panel, and because we will be wrapping up shortly, so I want to make sure that you get all of your questions answered. For those of you that are looking for this workshop PowerPoint and or the recording, for the time being, you can go online to the links I sent in the chat area, and you will be able to find a copy of a presentation. It is the presentation prior to this one, and also the recording prior to this one can be found in YouTube. Due to the fact that we are a little short-handed, it may be a minute before we can get these posted online, but you do have some that you can look at, and fortunate for you, this presentation doesn't change severely that much between the last one and this one. So if you want to go online, you can get that information. I do want to thank my guest today, Mr. Byron Whitaker from DPS, and Michael Judd from the Gordian Group for giving us their knowledge and information regarding the JOC program. And we hope that you are able to help us build Chicago. and understand the construction opportunities that you have within this program, and to be able to take advantage of the JOC program. As Michael said, it is in different sister agencies of ours. So we do hope that you are able to, if you can't work with one, you can work with the other with your business to get government work. If there are no additional questions, I will ask my guest speakers if they have any parting words that they want to end with. So, Michael, I'll go ahead. I guess that's wait, hold on, Michael. I guess that's Byron. Byron, do you have anything you would like to say?
No, I just would like to encourage all participants to pursue doing contracts with not only with the city of Chicago, but with all our sister agencies and governmental entities. So I encourage you to make a business decision to pursue that if you haven't already.
Thank you so much, Byron. As well as always, giving those great parting words. Michael, did you want to take a minute and say something that you may have wanted to include in your presentation but didn't get a chance to do so?
Yeah, sure. If there are any questions on any sister agencies that Byron alluded to and Jackie briefly talked about, in regards to job work contracting, please email me, please call me. I'm definitely happy to help. I'm definitely happy to assist. So please feel free to reach out and I'll be available.
Great. And for the person that asked, these slides available, again, there are a set of slides that are available with these same speakers there. So you can feel free to go online to the links that are in the chat and you will see a copy. The framework of the slides look a little different, but the content is the same. Thank you both for your great presentations. I want to thank our attendees for stopping by and hearing how they can impact the city of Chicago by participating in this program, this JOC program. We encourage, as Byron said, for all of you to get involved and to use the JOC program if you haven't already. And we want you to stay safe, stay well, wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask, get vaccinated, get your second vaccination, get your booster shot, do whatever it takes so that we can be in the same room together, networking, perhaps in September for our vendor fair, so you can hear this information in person and network with these great people that can help you in this process as well. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Take care.